There's a lot of notorious jank in Smash, but among the most infamous is Mr. Game & Watch's Side B, a hammer with a 1 in 9 chance to do 0 knockback or deliver a one-hit KO or a variety of other outcomes depending on the number you get. In Project M, the system behind Judgment's random number generation, or RNG, is actually pretty well understood and somewhat easy to manipulate. You see, there are 4 rules that govern how Judgment works. Number 1. Every number you roll gives a set outcome. Number 2. You cannot get a number that you got on one of your last 2 hammers. You cannot get repeats. 3. The dots at the top of the number card tell you whether your next hammer will be an odd or an even number. 1 dot means the next hammer will be odd, 2 means even. Finally, each game loads with Mr. Game & Watch having rolled a 2 and then a 1 already, so your first hammer cannot be either a 1 or a 2, and your second hammer cannot be a 1. Together, these rules mean that while you can't predict what number will come up next when you use Side B, you can narrow down the possibilities. If you've gotten a 1 and a 2 on your last 2 hammers, and there were 2 dots on the top of the last one, then you know that your upcoming hammer will be an even number that's not a 2. Because of the way these rules work, if you run enough permutations of hammers, you can eventually guarantee that you have a 1 in 3 chance at a specific odd number, or a 1 in 2 chance at a specific even number. Now at this point in the video, you might be remembering how I said earlier that getting a 9 means basically a one-hit KO. And then I told you how you can create scenarios where you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a 9, rather than the 1 in 9 chance you might expect from a mostly random move. If you're thinking this sounds like it might be kind of abusable, you aren't wrong. Enter Pikmon. Pikmon is the best player in the Pacific Northwest, and back in 2017 he was the best active Game & Watch player in the world before switching to Ike a couple of years later. He also has a long history of obscene luck. Here's a direct quote from a NorCal player about fighting Pikmon at a local.
The last time we played a set, he 9'd me 5 times in one set. And it wasn't a best of 5, it was a best of 3. And it was a 2-0. And he got 5 9s.
5 9s in 2 matches.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
At the end of 2017, Pikmon is playing in top 8 at Fair and Balanced, which is a NorCal major with some of the best players in the world in attendance. He's won a few close sets to make it into top 6, and now has to fight Sosa, who is one of the 3 players in contention for the number 1 spot on PM Rank 2017. He's lost to Sosa 4 times already this year at various majors, and none of those sets were especially close, so this would be a big mountain for him to climb. But today's different. Today, Pikmon's luck is even dumber than normal. As they move into Game 1, Pikmon weaves around Sosa in neutral for the first 15 seconds of the game, hacking on damage and building a small lead before landing his first grab of the set and immediately going for up throw into hammer. This is a gamble. He hasn't used hammer at all before that to have any idea what numbers could be coming next, and Game & Watch has very consistent grab confirms that lead into a lot of damage if you go for those instead of a hammer. But Pikmon goes for the hammer anyway, and it's a 9, because of course it is. What does he do next? Well, first he pops off, but then he does 2 more hammers, with the second one showing that single dot above the number 2. If we refer back to the rules of how Judgment works, we know this means that he's given himself a 20% chance that the next hammer will be another 9. After this, the 2 players trade stocks normally for the next minute. Sosa brings the game back to even with a combo into Waft, and then Pikmon creates another lead with 2 huge punishes and a creative reversal out of Sosa's down air. All the while, that 1 in 5 chance is still lurking in the back of both players' minds. As soon as Sosa's respawn invincibility runs out, Pikmon finds his opening and sets up a grab at 29%. It's a 9. Of course it's a 9. Sosa shakes his head and it's hard to blame him. He's now lost 2 stocks from grabs at super low percent, and he's down 3 stocks to 1 as a result. The last stock is a wash. Pikmon doesn't even need a third 9. He plays it safe and utilizes Game & Watch's more guaranteed combos to quickly close out the stock and take Game 1 over Sosa. But surely that was a fluke, right? I mean, the game record between these 2 players from the last year is now 10 games to 2, and that last one involved 2 9s. But if this is a fluke, it's not over yet. Pikmon starts game 2 with a 64% combo on Sosa, before sharking his jump with an up air and going for another hammer. This is his first one of the game, he hasn't primed the RNG at all, but it's still a 9. Sosa is visibly tilted out of his mind, the crowd is screaming louder than I've heard at any major before or since, and Pikmon's gone for 3 hammers so far in this set, and they've all been 9s. But there's a reason Sosa is a top 3 player in the world. He only takes 32% as he cleans up Pikmon's first stock, all but erasing the lead created by that 9. But 32% is kill percent, as far as Pikmon's concerned. He comes down from the Angel Plat, immediately gets a grab, and it's another 9. At this point in the set, Pikmon's taken twice as many stocks with 9s than without them. Collectively, the odds of his 4 hammers this set all being 9s is 1 in 1,225. He's up a game and a stock on one of the best players in the world, in large part thanks to this luck and the mental damage associated with being on the receiving end of 4 different one-hit KOs in 3 minutes. And that's not the craziest part. The craziest part is that Pikmon loses this set 3 games to 1. I firmly believe that no other player in the world would have won this set against Pikmon, playing this confidently and with this kind of luck. Certainly no other player would have had the mental fortitude to win this game after getting 9'd twice in a row and taking such an early deficit. But Sosa buckles down and he starts to bring it back. He finds a waft to close out Pikmon's second stock, and then tacks on 86% with a huge juggle sequence on the next one before finally getting clipped by Pikmon and dropping the 0 to death. After pushing Pikmon back off stage, he finds a back air and actually manages to take a lead for the first time this set. He's playing like every interaction might mean death for him, and it's working. After Pikmon finally finds a kill of his own, Sosa doesn't get touched on his last stock. He uses Wario's disjointed aerials and great mobility to weave around Pikmon, keeping him in the air until, when he finally has to let Game & Watch land on a platform, he goes for a bite callout and confirms it into a waft to take the game with a JV2 stock. For the rest of the set, it's all Sosa. Pikmon stops landing 9s, and Sosa's incredible juggles from game 2 carry over into the next 2 games as he wins twice on Pikmon's counter pick to move on to top 4. By the end of the set, it looks as if the first game and a half had never happened, and this is just another set between 2 players that have already faced off several times this year. And that in and of itself is a testament to the unshakable mental fortitude that Sosa has always brought to the table. Of all the PM top players, Sosa has perhaps the best mentality, almost never tilting or showing frustration even while down, and it's helped him to claw back many seemingly hopeless sets over the years. But this one might be the most impressive. One of the things that makes Pikmon such a threatening player isn't just that he's lucky, but that his generally very strong punish game is inherently scary to play against. It causes people to tilt or play badly because they're too focused on how hard he's hitting and not on everything else he's doing in neutral. So something like an early 9 can easily snowball into a 3-0 because of how well he capitalizes on his opponent's response to that one interaction. Sosa's complete refusal to crack under that kind of pressure is a huge part of why he was able to step up to the challenge of beating the luckiest player in PM on his luckiest day, and will forever be one of the greatest examples of a champion mentality that Smash has ever seen.